Welcome into episode 2 of the Q&A show on this channel. So every week or two, I post on my Instagram account, The NBA Way, asking people to toss me some random NBA related questions, and I try to tackle as many of them as I can. Seth Ford asks, who do you think will be a playoff team first, the Timberwolves or the Lakers? So it's a pretty easy answer for me, and that's the Timberwolves. Now, the Timberwolves did have a bit of a disappointing season this year. A lot of people thought that with the addition of Tom Thibodeau, with guys like Karl-Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins having a year more to mature, that this would be at least a fringe playoff team in the West, whereas they really weren't even close to being 500. Now, the reason why I would say the Timberwolves and not the Lakers is because the Timberwolves have proven young stars. So Andrew Wiggins has shown that he's a 20-point-per-game scorer. Karl-Anthony Towns has shown that he can put up all-star type numbers. And with the addition of a couple more veterans, with more time to gel, with Tom Thibodeau having more time during the offseason to really fix their defense, I really think this team could easily be a playoff team next year. Are they title contenders? No, because they still have a couple years to wait for their young stars to really become superstars. But are they going to be a playoff team before the Lakers? Probably. Now, I will say that the one factor that kind of changes this argument is whether or not the Lakers can get someone like Paul George. So if the Lakers manage to land Paul George, who is easily a top 20 player in this league, that will obviously immediately propel them ahead of the Timberwolves, because the Lakers will then shift to a win now mode. They'll obviously accordingly sign more veterans to really boost the team. And in that case, I could see them making the playoffs for Timberwolves, but the easy answer is probably no. So Mike asks, would you rather build around Karl-Anthony Towns or Kristaps? It's Karl-Anthony Towns for me. For a couple of reasons. Number one, I think Karl-Anthony Towns is more well-rounded than Porzingis. He's shown that he can score outside, inside. So Karl-Anthony Towns has just put up way better numbers during the regular season. He's more efficient. But I will say that Kristaps Porzingis does have the higher ceiling because he is a little more athletic. He is taller. He's bigger. I could see him being, an MVP type player, whereas I can't really see that for Karl-Anthony Towns. I think he'll be a perennial all-star. For me, it comes down to if I really have to pick and I'm starting my team today, I'm going to pick Karl-Anthony Towns because I know that he's a guaranteed all-star based on what we've seen of his career so far. Josh asks, is there a possibility that the stars on the Warriors will move during their free agencies, and if so, where to and why? So after this season ends, the Warriors will have 4 main free agents. Number 1 is Steph Curry and unrestricted. Number 2 is Kevin Durant, who is probably going to opt out of his player option despite whether or not he chooses to stay with Golden State. And the other 2 are Andre Iguodala and Sean Livingston. Now, Sean Livingston and Andre Iguodala are the 2 most likely to leave simply because they are the players that are not on Steph Curry and Kevin Durant's level. This is very interesting for me to see. I think this largely depends on where the Warriors end up doing this season. So if the Warriors manage to win the championship, then I can't really see either Curry or Durant leaving, seeing as they'll continue to stay in Golden State and build this dynasty. And if that happens, then the Warriors will not have enough cap space to re-sign both Iguodala and Sean Livingston. So Iguodala is going to be looking for a near max contract as he sort of ages towards the tail end of his career. Sean Livingston right now is only making $5 million per year. He's definitely worth a lot more than that in today's NBA economy. So based on that very fact alone with how the salary works, there's no way that the Warriors will be able to keep all 4. Obviously, if Durant chooses to leave Golden State and go somewhere else after the season for whatever reason, then the Warriors might have enough cap space to sort of re-sign Iguodala, Livingston, and sort of bring back their old core. But it's almost a guarantee to me. I don't see any way the Warriors can re-sign all 4 of them. So at least one of them is going to go, and it'll probably end up being either Iguodala or Sean Livingston. Okay, so there's this other question of, it's unlikely that Steph Curry will leave, but if he leaves, where will he go? Yes, it is unlikely that Steph Curry will leave. He said it multiple times, like he got drafted by the Warriors. This is the city that he's won a championship for. This is the city he won 2 MVPs in. He doesn't want to leave. He doesn't want to move his family and all that. And because of that, I can't realistically even see him on any other team for 2 main reasons. Number 1, if you're trying to win a ring, Steph is already in Golden State. That's the best place to possibly chase a ring, as Kevin Durant obviously has shown us. The second thing is that the Warriors can offer Steph Curry the most money. So again, money and rings are probably the 2 most important things when it comes to most players making their decision. And so Steph Curry can get as the biggest extension, he can get from any team from Golden State. And also based on the fact that, look, he has a wife, he has kids. He doesn't really want to relocate anywhere. So I can't realistically imagine him going anywhere, honestly. A player of Steph Curry's caliber, if he were to leave the Warriors and join another team will definitely change the entire league. All right, so there's 2 questions that are related to the Pelicans. What is the future going to be in New Orleans with the Twin Towers? What should they try to build with? Someone else asked, should they break up the Twin Towers, perhaps trade one of Boogie and AD to get a better guard or wing to sort of even out? So the answer to breaking up Boogie and AD to me is no, absolutely not. For a number of reasons. Number one, this combo has too much potential for you to break up. This could possibly be the most dominant frontcourt we will ever see in NBA history, period. I mean, these are the two best big men when they're healthy and when they're on the floor. Now, they only had 20 games to play together, and they, basically during the regular season, most NBA teams don't really have much practice time either. So these two haven't really had time to gel with each other and figure it out. Their coach, Alvin Gentry, hasn't been given a lot of time to really figure out how to utilize both Boogie and Anthony Davis effectively together. Now, the biggest thing about the Pelicans for me going forward is easily just health, right? Jrue Holiday has been battling a lot of injuries lately. Anthony Davis has never made it through a single NBA season entirely healthy. We all know that. Boogie had some injuries last year as well. If they're healthy, this will be a playoff team in my mind. Even if, let's say, they don't really necessarily get that much better on paper than what they were last season. Now, how they can improve over the summer and in free agency is simply by signing more shooters, couple more wing defenders. So instead of Solomon Hill having a spot for threes, they get some better shooters around Boogie and AD, and how Boogie and AD will demand so much attention in the paint. If you can spread the floor with shooters, you'll be a really potent offense. The defense is also a little bit of a concern. The Pelicans weren't very good on defense last year either. And the second thing is getting a reliable bench scorer. So their second unit was pretty terrible last year. When Jrue Holiday was out, they had to rely on guys like Tim Frazier, Langston Galloway, guys that haven't really proven to be consistent options. So getting a guy coming off the bench, a veteran coming off the bench, is obviously important. But like I said before, all they really need in my eyes to make the playoffs and at least be a playoff contending team is simply be healthy. And that's stuff that we can't really predict. Parsons asks, will the Jazz contend for the NBA championship in the near future? I'm going to say yes, they will be contenders, conditioned upon two things. Number one, most importantly, this summer is a big summer for the Jazz because Gordon Hayward is an unrestricted free agent. Now, I might do actually a more in-depth video because this is actually very fascinating where Gordon Hayward will go. But the sort of shortened down version of this is that the Celtics have a really good case to grab Gordon Hayward. If the Jazz lose Gordon Hayward, that Gordon Hayward is their best overall player, so they can't afford to lose him if they want to stay contenders. So if they keep Gordon Hayward, and the second condition is Rodney Hood. So Rodney Hood is a player for me that I think has a lot of potential that just seems right now a bit inconsistent. So there have been games where he scores like 25 points, but then there are games where he looks like just a young version of J.R. Smith. So how Rodney Hood will develop in the future is a big factor into whether or not the Jazz can be a contending team. If Rodney Hood can, let's say, average close to 17 points per game, that'll be enough for me to really look at the Jazz and say, okay, this team with Rodney Hood, Gordon Hayward, Rudy Gobert as the core, the young core, they'll only continue to get better. They already have solid veterans established at their respective positions. Quinn Snyder has proven that he can take a team with not necessarily a ton of talent and make them a legit playoff contender that can make it out of the first round of the playoffs. That is more than enough for me to say that this Jazz team will be a contender at the very least in the next coming years. Brooklyn #1 pick anytime soon? Garrett asks, is LeBron going to Cleveland? And if he is going, where is he going? So the answer is no. I don't think in any way that LeBron is going to leave Cleveland. This is less of a basketball question than more of like a sentimental thing. I can't imagine that LeBron, after coming back to Cleveland, even after fulfilling his promise that, look, he is like a Cleveland guy, right? He's born and raised in Akron, Ohio. He loves saying that all the time. I can't imagine him leaving the city again, especially with the fact that they've been to the past two finals. They won the championship last year. They have a young star in Kyrie Irving, which is about as good a second option as you can want if you're LeBron James. I don't see any reason for him to leave. Look, this is not the Cleveland team that LeBron had to carry night after night in 2008, 2009, 2010 to the finals and all that stuff. This is a Cleveland team that has actual good talent and has a bright future. Now, their team is a bit old. If I'm Cleveland, I do want to try to get a couple young players and start developing them just so that in 2 or 3 years when LeBron really starts to decline, which, I mean, we don't know. Like, LeBron is not human. I'm gonna say that again. LeBron is not human. The fact that he's maintained this level of peak performance for so long is absolutely unbelievably incredible. In the grand scheme of things, no, I can't personally imagine LeBron ever leaving Cleveland again. Alright, so that is all I got for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. If this is your first time here on this channel, make sure to subscribe for future NBA videos. Apologies in advance if your question didn't get answered. I'm going to try to do another one of these as soon as possible. Other than that, I'll see you next time. Peace.
Feeling kinda strange, feeling kinda off. Don't know what's really going on. I feel like something's up and I can only guess the cause. It doesn't matter when, doesn't matter where. Always hits me when I'm unprepared.